What was the hierarchy of offense? Because I watched your special this morning and I thought every goddamn thing you said was offensive. So how do they decide what to cut and what to keep?
That's a great question. I'm sure that they have everybody has their like list of what is right and wrong. And I think that list is so malleable. And I think for me, that's the most fun part of stand-up is I like finding the divisive topic and then seeing if there's like one kernel that we can all agree on. And sometimes that thing that we all agree on is the opposite of what everybody would like to present themselves as. So I'm trying to think of I know I had a bit about abortion in the special, but I'm even thinking about like abortion right now, which is a very divisive topic, right? I don't know how you feel about it, but I've been like really thinking, I'm like, what is like the truth on how people feel about abortion? And I think I've gotten to it, which is, okay, everybody has a number of abortions where if you go past that, it's too many. So it's not really, even if you're liberal, it's not really your body, your choice. It's like your body, your choice up to like 3. And then all of a sudden people are like, what's going on over here? 9 is a softball team. Like that's a lot, right? Like that. Usually people, even the most liberal person will be like, all right, we'll teach her how to put on a condom or something. Like what the fuck is going on over here? And then the most conservative person, their number is 1. They're like, 1 is too many. But we all agree that there's a spectrum of when it's too much. And I think, like for me, that's where a joke begins, right? I go, ooh, okay, there's a whole group of people in like this liberal San Francisco audience where I may perform at, or a super liberal New York audience. What if I can get every person, even the women that are super pro-choice, to be like, yeah, 9 is a lot. 9, I think it might be the government's choice at 9. Like how can I get you to see the other side without being a politician about it, going, this is how you must live your life. How can I do it and we all laugh? I think it was like Oscar Wilde said, if you want to tell someone the truth, make them laugh. If not, they'll kill you. And I don't think all comedy has to be truthful and all that kind of stuff. I think comedy speaks to feeling. It doesn't speak to what is right or wrong. It speaks to genuinely how you feel. And
it does tend to speak to truth in some real sense because when an audience laughs, they laugh spontaneously, right? The laughter is truthful. A laugh.
But the laughter is truthful because it taps into a feeling. But just because you feel a thing doesn't mean that is right or wrong. And I think that's where a lot of times comedians get in trouble when they start going, I'm speaking truth to power. I'm telling you what's right or wrong. And it's like, buddy, don't put the cape on.
Yeah.
If you tell people you're just out here telling jokes, you're just having fun, now you're not going to be positioned with the responsibility to tell the truth every time. I want to tell fucked up jokes. I want to say messed up things. And in order for me to do that and have the freedom to create in that space, I can't be Superman. You know what I mean? I can't say that I'm the arbiter of truth. I'm going to get it right every single time. What I'm going to do every single time is make you laugh.
I think also that actually, what would you say? It subordinates comedy to something lower. When you see this happening with entertainers very frequently, probably most often with actors, but sometimes with musicians, sometimes with other, let's call them entertainers, it's a bad term, creative artists, is they get possessed of the idea at some point that what they're doing isn't good enough. And that because it isn't good enough, they have to do something truly good. And that's usually something in the political arena. And what they don't understand is that there is almost nothing in the political arena that's anywhere near as good as what works in the creative arena. So you're immediately subordinating what's best to what's lowest. And so when you see a Hollywood actor go on a political rampage, you think, well, you were already doing a lot of good for the world with your creative actions. And now you're a second-rate politician, even though you were a first-rate actor or comedian or musician. And, I've gone to a lot of artistic shows in recent years and had them polluted by political discussion. And you get pulled into the performance and then halfway through, there's something politically correct often, because that's generally the case now. And you think, oh my God, I got suckered here. I was coming to hear someone great do something great. Now I have to listen to the same half-wit political opinion that I could have not paid for and listened to any undergraduate spout. It's like, well, thanks a lot for that. You think Black Lives Matter. Well, that doesn't make you special.
Yeah.
Anyone who's not an outright bloody Nazi thinks that. And so it's just not elevating. And it's a very sad thing to see that creative artists are buying the idea, part of this rat's nest of ideas we were talking about earlier, that that politics is somehow morally superior, political opinions are somehow morally superior to creative endeavor. That's definitely the case on the comedy front.
Yeah, I wonder if I think it's hard. I think like with success and notoriety, well, it's twofold. It's like with extreme criticism, for example, you went through extreme criticism. It's hard, I would imagine, to stick to your guns when you know that you could easily back into the comfort of the people supporting you, right? It's the brave move is, despite the criticism, continue saying and feeling the things that you feel, for lack of a better way to describe it, but like to continue being consistent on how you feel and expressing that. It's very easily to get like this onslaught of criticism from the left and then just go, all right, the right likes me, I'm going to go right wing, all my opinions are conservative, etc. It's much harder to piss off the left one day, piss off the right the other day, because that's who you are as a real person. Nobody is 100% in that way and feeling that thought every single time, like what I try to, I guess, express in a lot of comedy. Like, I have an abortion bit in the special. To this day, nobody knows which side I am on the abortion issue, right? And both sides think that joke represents them. That's designed on purpose to do that. Like, if you even look at the comments, both of them are recognizing like the faults in their side and also the support of their side. And to me, it was really cool to put out a piece like that wasn't going, you're an idiot for not believing exactly what I believe, especially in a divisive topic like that. I just think I don't know, like, did you have that moment where you were getting this onslaught of criticism and people were calling you the next fucking Nazi this, and then you're the muse for like movie villains? Was there ever a moment where you were like, this, I don't need to stay true to myself. Let me back into the comfort of the people who love me?
Yeah, well, it's hard to say, because a lot of that's pretty subtle. If all the attacks or almost all the attacks are coming from one side and almost all the support is coming from the other side, it also puts you in a position of having to wonder just exactly who your friends are. And one of the things I have found is that for me, for whatever reason, and I don't think that this is unique to me, it's a lot harder for me to talk to people on the left. And the reason for that, and it didn't used to be like that, not 10 years ago or 15 years ago. In fact, if you'd talked to me 15 years ago, I probably would have thought that I was at least moderately on the left. And so, but in any case, I always feel like I have to walk on eggshells. I feel like I have to watch what I'm saying. And I don't really like talking to people around whom I have to watch what I'm saying. I actually like to talk to people and I can just say what I have to say, especially if it happens to be funny, which now and then is the case. And so, and then it is difficult not to identify with people who support you, especially if that goes on for years. And so who knows how that changes you. I definitely have become more conservative in my thinking. And I would say, I think there are intellectual reasons for that primarily, though, because one of the things I've understood more deeply recently, more explicitly, I've been putting this together, is that the definition of sanity that's generally implicitly held among the psychological community is probably too individualistic. And what I mean by that is that I don't think that sanity is something that you have in your head. It's not part of your psyche. It's not part of you exactly. It's more like harmonious interaction with the hierarchy of social arrangements that you have with other people. So, well, imagine this, for example. A neighbor I knew on my street said to me once, you're never any happier than your most unhappy child. Right, so that's a good one. But so you imagine, well, you're a pretty sane person and you're married and your marriage is terrible. It's like, well, then you're not that sane, are you? And if you have a terrible marriage and you're not getting along with your kids, then you're also not very sane. And if you're in a terrible marriage and you don't get along with your kids and you're fighting with your siblings and your parents, then you're even less sane. And so you imagine that sanity, you're sane if you have a relationship that's working. If you have a relationship with your family that's working, if that family is nested inside a community that isn't too fractious, there's something musical about it. It's like every note has its place. And so
I think,
you see what I mean? And it's also,
I see what, I see what you mean, but if I can give some pushback, I would say that like the person that has the miserable marriage and unhappy kids, but is still seemingly happy, that person is insane to me. The person that has unhappy kids in an unhappy marriage and is unhappy is sane.
Yes, that's exactly that's exactly the point I'm making is that,
okay.
Yes, because the thing is that if you aren't reflecting the structure of the social communities around you, then you're off calibration. Yes. Well, here, I was talking to a woman named Jean Twenge yesterday, and she's a research psychologist. We were talking about self-esteem. And one of the self-esteem movement in the school system in California was absolutely dreadfully devastating and appalling. It basically posited that you could teach kids how to be narcissistic to overcome their negative emotion and neuroticism. And that's so preposterously appalling that you couldn't invent something stupider. So we were talking about self-esteem, whatever the hell that means, because it's a very badly defined term. But here's one way of determining whether you have the appropriate amount of self-esteem. You might say, well, everyone should feel good about themselves. It's like, well, if you're a miserable, ratty, lying, deceptive, narcissistic prick, then probably you shouldn't feel that good about yourself. And how do you know that? Because you should feel about as good about yourself as people on average do around you about you, right?
Yes.
So and we even know this technically because you have a little counter, so to speak, in your psyche that ranks you in terms of your social standing. And the higher you're ranked, the less negative emotion you feel and the more positive emotion you feel. And that's because your brain is indicating to you that you're well situated in a social community and you're secure with opportunity. And so your self-esteem that's exactly how it works. It's a very, so what happens to people who get depressed, technically depressed, is that that counter goes astray and they start thinking less of themselves than their situation would indicate. And so then everything around them falls apart. They feel that their past was a catastrophe. They feel that their present is hopeless and that the future isn't going anywhere. But it's because this really, really low-level counter that utilizes serotonin has gone astray. And sometimes antidepressants can help deal with that. Now, that isn't someone who has a terrible life. That's someone who has a good life, but something's gone wrong with them psychophysiologically often, so the counter is out of whack. In any case, you should have about as much self-esteem as other people are willing to grant you. And that's kind of a conservative idea as well, in some real sense.
Enough self-esteem as others are willing to grant you.
It's like, well, imagine, if everybody in the company assumes that you're an average performer, you should probably assume that you're an average performer. You shouldn't be running around feeling good about yourself in excess of that, because your attitude towards yourself should be a reflection of your actual situation in the social environment.
So my pushback on that would be, if your self-esteem is defined by how the people around you treat you, how can you break out when you're in especially when you're in an industry of narcissists that are really only concerned with how they're doing, what they want. How do you separate yourself?
That's a great question, man. And that's the trick that presents itself to everyone creative.
But the answer maybe is, and this is, I don't know if we support this, but this might be the truth. There is a reason why narcissists tend to break out, because their self-esteem is not limited by the views of others.
That is true. That is exactly true. Well, in fact, in that regard, so you put your finger on something that's cardinally important, because it is generally the case that your view of yourself should reflect the views of those around you. But the problem with that is now and then the social situation gets so pathological that that's no longer reliable. Now, when that happens, you're really in trouble. That's the first thing we should point out, because if society has got so demented that its feedback can no longer be trusted, then everything's going to hell in a handbasket pretty quickly. But that is when you get the necessity for people to call on whatever it is within them that makes them true moral agents to, let's say what they believe to be true with great caution.